welcome everybody to the ninth Town Hall. As we did last time, this sort of replaces the advisory board, so we've sort of opened that up again to the wider community so that any of you who want to can join and give feedback as well. So it's not quite as restricted to just those in the advisory board. So similar to last time, I think we'll keep this fairly open floor. So an opportunity for you guys to bring any questions, feedback, that sort of thing to the team. And I think, Luke, you've also got a few bits to go through as well a bit later on. So yeah, I think first and foremost, has anybody got any feedback that they'd like to share with the team or with others? No?
Keep up the great work.
Thanks. Yeah. No burning questions. No lists.
I don't have a list. No. Tailwind is going.
Darn it! Come on,
how
Nick,
did I know
you're
it was me you're
slipping,
referring
bro.
to? Yeah, no. Tailwind's going rather well. What I am kind of tasking the guys to do is actually expand the number of Tailwind templates. So, and the one thing I don't know how to do, which is probably worth a kind of maybe a Zoom call quickly, is how we share them with the community, because we can put them into our agency module area, but yeah, it'd be just useful just to have maybe a recap at some stage of how we share those with the community, because as we found Flowbite quite limited. You know, it's one of those things you go, oh look, there's, I don't know, 500 templates, and you think, wow, loads, great, and then you very quickly realise that there's not that many when you want a kind of an image and text layout in a different way and so on and so forth. So just as my guys are building them, they're just going to kind of amend things and create new ones and just make them available. So yeah, hopefully that'll be useful for others within the team here.
Sure. Just quickly on that, the way we've set it up, and I think typically the way it works is you tend to have a theme at least, or a global style sheet that you work from. So are you using Flowbite as your globals, and then just adding Tailwind sections and things into it then?
Exactly that, yeah. So we're kind of using the same, we're using that core template. I mean, my guys do, most of our stuff is bespoke kind of design and build from scratch. But yeah, they're kind of using that Flowbite, the kind of key template elements to do that. So hopefully we'll have that consistency in there. So they're following. Yeah, they've kind of started with Flowbite as their starting place, if you like.
So as long as you start from that, then you can add your own layouts to the Flowbite theme that we have in the marketplace. If you end up doing your own theme, then you would have to submit a theme to the marketplace as well, and then they would run separately. Yes, yeah. So yeah, there's a doc on it. I believe there's just some steps that you have to do in the code just to make it appear as layouts within Site Builder if you want them to, or just within the theme. Yeah, Matt Jones has documented those, I believe.
Cool. I'll have a look out for that then and pass that.
I'll make sure
that across to the guys.
Yeah, sure. I'll make sure I share the docs afterwards. But what we might also set up, based on the last couple of calls we've had, is some sort of training session where we can go through those things, because I know that we're keen to kind of all have a bit more sort of, what do you call it, hands-on discussion rather than having to work it out for yourselves. So yeah, we'll try and set that up.
Cool. Fantastic.
Cool.
And how did Nick, last time I think you mentioned you were building out the site using some of those Flowbite
yes.
How did that go?
Well, yeah, but I very quickly ran into oh, lovely, I like that, but can you show, clients saying, can you make this a bit like this and a bit like that? And thus it's like, oh Christ, I don't have that template available. So back to my guys to adjust them and amend them, which is really straightforward for them. It's kind of thing, I could have spent a couple of hours working out how to do it, and they could do it in a couple of minutes. So yeah, it was fine. We got 95% of those of that site built. That client's asked us for another build with the same theme for their shed. It was just a local builder who wants a site for his sheds as well. So yeah, in that respect, I mean, was it the most cost-effective site that we've ever built? Yeah, by a long way. It probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours work from start to completion. So in that respect, yeah, can't complain. So it's not something we've done before, but we certainly will do again. But yeah, just having that, that greater array of things to choose from, so they're ready to grab, will be handy for us.
Nice.
Do you feel like you're getting the best of both worlds? Like, do you feel like it's a design system template to start with, but then I think what you're saying is you can build bespoke sections and layouts onto it if you need? Do you see any downside of starting from a design system? Or?
Not so far, and that was a question I asked my guys. It was either on Monday or Friday at our meeting, and yeah, I was like, "What are the issues you're facing with it?" And they're like, it just works. So yeah, so far so good. Touch wood, it's going it's going rather well. So yeah,
we've done a couple.
Keep you posted.
At Wizzy, we've done a couple, and very much the same experience, Nick. Very, very quick. I've got one on the go at the moment, which is I think it's actually in Figma, but we'll go down a very similar route eventually. It's just that
yeah. So that's something we haven't done, is that Figma element at this stage. But we are putting together quite a complicated membership site, which I've got to lay out with my designer tomorrow. So that'll be interesting, because I'm thinking actually Figma probably will be an approach that we need from that, and there'll be, we'll come up way short in terms of the sections that are available within Flowbite for that project. But I think we still will start with Figma. It does lend itself to a very clean layout anyway. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that one, because that's going to be that is a major kind of 10K build. So it's going to be done in Figma with excuse me, there's a cat wandering behind me. The joys of working from home. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that. But at this moment, I'm not seeing any downside to it. And when we need to build those new modules and things and code them, that's not going to be any different to what we do pre Flowbite and Tailwind. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
Cool. I just wanted to show a couple of examples of our findings and show you what we've been up to as well, and a site builder enhancement. So I can do that now, but does anybody else have any sort of Flowbite site builder related things they want to chip in with first? Or I'll just quickly show you these then, because it might be relevant.
Save somebody hitting the keyboard.
Yeah, so I thought what I'd show is a few sites that have been built recently, as mentioned on the Wizzy side, on Site Gurus, for agencies, but also and clients. Some very basic, some not too far from Flowbite in terms of the design system that sort of Nick's been talking about, the sort of template and then customizing it, and then a little bit more customization as well. And then I'll show you a nice new feature. So I'll just pull it up now. So hopefully you can see my screen. This is a good example one, because it was done from the Figma approach first. So for anybody who's not too familiar with it, I think, Nick, you've been taking layouts from Site Builder and sort of piecing together the site without having to start from the design aspect in Figma. I think you're just going straight to code, is that right? Cool. Whereas this one could have done that, but the client was actually very hands-on, which is quite unusual. But they got stuck into the whole Figma side. So I thought I'd show this because it's quite a good example in here. So this is using the Flowbite Figma file, which has obviously the corresponding layouts in code. So this is where I feel the real benefit is. So you start from Figma, and just piece together different sections. A mock-up was done of this very, very quickly, just to even win the project, I think, and piece together just a few ideas, and then eventually sort of went through it, mapping out the different sections, and even the client putting content in, which I think is probably not very common in, I imagine, your experience of trying to get clients involved with that. But either way, if the client is, then that's fantastic. If they're not, then you sort of help them through that process, and you just either come up with, so in this case, you might just come up with like your variety of templates. You might come up with a homepage template over here, and then like an inner page template, any web app templates, that kind of stuff, and just try and get those kind of signed off with the customer. You can use the chat feature within the comments feature within Figma and get all of that signed off. So I mean, the speed at which this can be done is ridiculous, because you've got all of the sections that you might want to use in Figma already. So you sort of piece them together, and then obviously do branding changes and stuff, which is global. So you can change the colors to red and all those kind of things. Get some content in there if you need. You might skip the content stage at Figma. And then obviously when you pass that over to a developer, they've got the corresponding layout. So you end up with the same design. You don't have to worry too much about pixel perfect, because you are literally working from something that's already correct. And while I agree, Nick, Flowbite isn't going to have everything. It's not going to have every option. What it does have is standardization and best practice and all of that kind of done for you. So it's already designed, and you've got the corresponding layouts. So as long as the customer's happy with those, and as long as they make sense for the project, you can very quickly pull all this together into a site. This was built using Site Builder as well. So those layouts already appeared in Site Builder, and the developer was able to like piece the site together quite quickly, and only really touch code for either customization of layouts or bespoke functionality and things like that. I'll go through a few pages, but essentially some of those pages that we just looked at are on the inner pages here. I think this one's literally about to go live, so it's still on the staging URL. But yeah, just one example. Another nice thing is obviously Flowbite have done a lot to make sure that out of the box it's performant and everything. So just running a quick report on that. The only reason it's down on SEO is probably a few little bits to fix before go live, but also it's blocked from the search engine anyway, so that's going to have a big impact. But things like speed and that kind of stuff are always there or thereabouts, as good as they can be. Got another one here quickly, and then I'll hand back to you guys. Another Figma project mapped out in Figma. Only the basics, actually. Literally did a homepage and a menu for that one, and it even changed during the process, as I'm sure you find with many projects. Sorry, let me lost my screen. Here we go. Hopefully you can still see my screen. And then yeah, this one built out into the site using Flowbite as well. There's a lot more complex functionality in here. So this is basic in terms of the layouts, but then there's very complex functionality in, come on computer, it's a bit slow.
Particularly calculators, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to get in there. Yeah, so there's a whole like databases of calculations and data to work out those calculations in here. And obviously then that's just built really probably like you've been saying, Nick. So sorry, all the struggles with Zoom. That's an inner page. That was just a very basic layout built on top of just probably Tailwind or Flowbite on top. And then all of this is just to match. It was actually an existing site, so some of it is just the functionality mapped across using Tailwind as the way to lay it out most effectively, and loads of calculations in there to give people the data they need. So you can do really, really complex stuff on top. The whole idea is it's just a starting point. And then again, quickly, just showing very, very little work, I believe, needed to be done to achieve those numbers. You just obviously have to make sure that the images that you've uploaded and that kind of stuff don't drag the performance down, but most of it's there already. A couple of others very quickly, just a very sort of basic holding page. That was done by a design agency, designed and then passed over for development. So I believe that's in Figma as well. Just a very basic holding page, inner page, and those were built out very quickly. And then lastly, one with just slightly more complexity on the design side. There's this one here. Don't know if you guys have ever done this, but SVGs that move around like that. I've not really seen blobs. I've not seen that too much, but yeah, just a slightly different style in there, which again wasn't in Flowbite, but you just build it on top.
The cat seems to like those blobs. Have you noticed, Nick?
Yeah, he's very interested in the whole thing, I have to say.
He really is paying a lot of attention to your screen.
I think he loves mice. That's where it is.
Yeah, so if anybody hasn't really sort of got more into the Flowbite or Tailwind or Site Builder side of things, totally fine to do things however you want to, really, but we've seen a lot of time saving, and we're hearing similar stories. So in every area, to be honest, the design, the agency experience in Figma, and then obviously the development as well. So it's worth taking a look if you haven't already. And then very quickly, I'll show a feature that's coming in March. Computer decided to go very slow. For any of you who's not seen the latest, you've got well, it's going a bit slow. There's a homepage now that just tells you sort of the things to try and do if you haven't already, with a video and a link to Discord as well to discuss it if you get stuck. I'll jump across to layouts. If you'd seen the updates in Discord, you'll notice that there's support for web apps and layouts now. So the first one that's in there is a slider layout, but that essentially works with web apps. So you can build your own web apps and then use these layouts for them. Now, you can do that kind of thing already, but you have to obviously take generally a static layout and then go and get your web app tags and put them in the various sections. So the title, the subtitle, the image, that kind of stuff. What this does is kind of helps join the two together. So that layout already has typical support for those kind of fields, SiteGlide field types. And then what you would do is, the new feature that will be available soon is, when you're using Page Builder, you'd be able to pick a dynamic section, pick, zoom out of the way, a web app slider in this case, pick the actual web app that you're working with. So let's pick this one. And then obviously we'll expand the library of layouts. And as Nick was saying, hopefully people will add to the library. It'll become open source and growing all the time. But what you can then do is map those fields to the layout. So, I mean, imagine it was a table, imagine it was anything really that a web app could be used with. What you've done is you've built the web app in SiteGlide, and then now in Site Builder, you're able to link them together. So this is going to recommend certain field types for you from to match the layout with the web app. In this case, for the image field, we're going to pick the image source. For title, you might want to use the name, saying recommended. There'll be some in here where it says it just doesn't know. It'll say no data match, but it'll recommend some to you. Put a description in there as well. The data source. So let's just put in there's not a specific one for this at the moment, but we'll put the name in again. A button link, we'll do that. And then, sorry, the button link, you would pick the slug and the button name. Again, if you had custom fields, you would put those in. So this helps you map out the layout to the fields essentially. So it should mean that there's no code required. You don't have to get stuck into the code at this point. You don't have to write any liquid to make certain things happen. And you've got the layouts out of the box to use. The great thing about this is it can just, the potential with it is huge. We can essentially get to the point where you can build out whole applications from a UI if we have enough either modules or web app layouts available. You could just go through and pick a different one. It's going to give you different fields available, and you'll just again go through and pick those. Any questions on that? Does that make sense? I've described it before, but this is the first time I've been able to show it, and hopefully it makes a little bit more sense now that you can see it.
That's massively powerful, isn't it? I'm kind of thinking when we get into because where we are a bit lacking as a platform is a choice of galleries, and actually this would lend itself very nicely to put those those together. So yeah, maybe something we need to all focus on putting together some galleries and that type of thing.
It's interesting you mentioned that. That was mentioned today when I said, well, what should we build? What should we look at next as an add-on for Site Builder essentially? And I thought a gallery, we get asked about galleries all the time, and the response from one of the developers was, well, with this, the slider module itself isn't that far off a gallery, and we would need to get more specific feedback on what the people want from a gallery. But to some extent, you might actually want to build your own in web apps if it's this simple to hook them up. So you might not actually need the gallery, you might need the web app layouts more than the whole complete module.
And the challenge with a gallery is there's 1,001 different flavors of gallery. That's the
exactly.
You'll never build the right one.
So this hopefully will avoid us having 1 million modules for the 1,000 different ways of doing everything, and allow people to kind of build out custom functionality very quickly. Another good example is something like this. If you've got a table view of users or products, whatever it might be, this is the Flowbyte application layouts. That there ends up being a list view layout and would appear in here. Essentially, you'd pick your layout as a list view, and then you'd map your fields accordingly. So yeah, the potential for it is huge. We just need to keep building the library in, and hopefully having additional layouts in there as well. Yeah, so I thought I'd quickly show some updates on the Site Builder side, but also definitely worth having a look at Flowbyte specifically and Site Builder. If you're not too familiar with it, just coming into the layouts area, you can quite quickly see all the different things that are already available. So blog module layouts. I've explained this before, but this is a custom gallery. So this is a module that's been submitted to the marketplace that you'd be able to use and layouts for it. But what I've just shown is not needing to build a specific module, just being able to work directly from a web app. And yeah, various other functionality in there, including static layouts as well. So do have a play around if you haven't so far. Last point on that, and now I'll pass back over to you guys, is in Discord in the next few days, we'll be putting, I think I'll do a new channel, but essentially I want to sort of open up the floor to collaboration on the marketplace from a portal module perspective. So anybody who's looking to build either modules or complex projects, maybe like your membership one, Nick, I don't know how relevant that would be, but anybody who's looking to build more complex things, we're looking to try and get this general Flowbyte application layout or something similar to this into Site Builder, and then people can start building out modules and layouts that all kind of work together. So if people are going down that route, it makes sense that we all kind of try and work off the same theme and the same core structure, because then you can actually use them together, especially from within Page Builder, and see an ever-growing list of functionality and layouts. So I'll set that up very soon. If anybody's either looking to build modules, looking to build layouts, or has projects that you need them for, then I think it's worth having that discussion, because anybody who is building, it's helpful to hear from people with the requirements, I guess, of what would need to be built. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now. I've got a couple of other things to talk about later, but back over to you guys. Do you have any questions or issues?
So the modules that you just talked about, Luke, those are only going to be available through Site Builder, or will I be able to just go to like the normal backend, click on a site, click site modules, and then be able to install just a single module for a site that's already been spun up?
Yeah, Site Builder only runs off the marketplace. So anything that's in Site Builder is also in the marketplace. Anything that's in the marketplace isn't necessarily in Site Builder. Somebody would have to make something compatible with Site Builder, but I think it's in most people's interest to do that, because it hopefully speeds up development. But yeah, you'll be able to use things with or without Site Builder, totally up to you.
So there's still support and there's still, I guess, a desire from y'all's part for us to continue to build modules that are just available, like just straight up through the back end, not a Site Builder specific module then.
Yeah, definitely. Just see Site Builder as a UI, really. It's a UI to help speed up creation and use of things, whereas the marketplace is a way to offer well, to speed up development by having off-the-shelf stuff that you can use, and that could also be available in Site Builder, but it's optional.
So the documentation that is currently online to walk us through creating that module and submitting it to you guys to put in the marketplace, those docs are all current with the current information and all of that kind of stuff, if we wanted to start digging into it ourselves?
Pretty sure, yes. As we've said, since we released the marketplace, really, it's an ever-going thing, and the more input we have, the more we'll improve it and make it easier. So yes, but if you notice anything, or yeah, just let us know, and we can keep improving it further. The Site Builder docs are separate, so if you're trying to make something work for Site Builder, you can go to their docs or the specific docs for that. So you can just make it work in the marketplace if you want to.
I'm still having a problem installing Site Builder on one of my sites.
Yeah, apologies. I think we put a message, Matt Jones put a message in yesterday or today. Platform OS have made a tiny update, which they've increased the validation checks when you do certain things, and they've gone a little bit too far with it. Essentially, they're checking for broken liquid, and because we split stuff up into, we pull liquid together using like raw tags. I'm not the right person to explain, but I'll try. Because they're essentially separate, the validation is seeing them as broken, even though it's not. So Platform OS have fixed it. They're releasing that today, or well, it was meant to be today or tomorrow US time. So should be fixed very soon. Apologies.
No problem. And it's not me. That's all that matters. Another question I had is Figma, Adobe bought Figma. I haven't seen any, I mean, I'm on Adobe's mailing list and everything, but they're not gonna shut it down. They're moving forward. They basically bought it to replace XD, right?
I think so. XD didn't really do very well. So yeah, I think so. It would be very strange to shut that down. The amount of investment and work that's gone into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 20 billion investment. I mean, this is what Adobe does: is they acquire. They did it with Dreamweaver. They did it with a lot of the. I think the only native one is Photoshop. I think. And
Go Live Cyber Studio.
Yeah, Go Live. Muse. Muse was good in its day. Anyway, yeah, I was just curious about that because I haven't really. I need I wanted to play around with the UI stuff because I'm much more of a visual designer, and so either I'm going to go with Figma, or I like the Flowbyte and try to tweak around with that. But that's the question I had.
I mean, you can use any design tools. If you want to get the most from Flowbyte, I would strongly recommend using Figma, because hopefully what I've just showed, that having that design to development handoff,
the round tripping
is
very. I like round trip design, for lack of a better. I know that's not necessarily what it's called, but essentially where it'll be interfaced and you can update things as you change colors. Because I have clients that'll do that. They'll I'll post something, they'll look at it and go, oh, that's too pink, or that's not pink enough, or whatever. And so it's nice to be able to easily just change that and then say, is this what you're looking for? And then, okay, great, sign here and send me money, and then we're done.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
That's actually a good point.
Way.
What I showed you was the design process prior to build, and then you build it.
Yeah.
The interesting bit is how you then also use Figma for ongoing site improvements, support, maintenance, whatever, because you could actually get the client to do everything with you in Figma, and then the developer just knows exactly what to update, rather than leaving Figma once it's built and having to do everything at a code level.
I mean, I do a lot of stuff in Webflow, but it doesn't necessarily interface with SiteGlide. As far as visually, I can really build a site fast for a client. I like to give them the true HTML so they look at it, but I know Figma has a lot of that capability too. So I just have another thing to learn, I guess, which doesn't look like it's going to be difficult.
If you use most, I mean, it's quite similar to Sketch, but it's probably quite different a little bit different to Photoshop and things. But yeah, it's a design tool and it's pretty easy to pick up. There's a few good tutorials on it. One really nice feature is the prototyping, so you can actually show the customer basically a walkthrough of the site working before you build it.
I saw that, and that's important. But cool. All right.
I think we'll try and do something, actually, some sort of videos and demos on how to maintain sites between the two, because I think I hadn't really thought of it before, but that's a huge consideration that Flowbyte kind of helps you cover.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. Any other questions or feedback using Site Builder or using Flowbyte before we move on to anything else?
Actually, I did have a question, Luke, and I had a conversation with Martin earlier. Martin, you might remember this, but I didn't write it down, and so now I don't remember. But I wondered how backwards compatible the Flowbyte is with some of the older sites that I already have on my site, or if I update them and make sure that the updates are there, because I see that we're switching now from of course, switching the what am I trying to say, the Bootstrap. So is that going to create a problem down in the code areas in the Studio Editor and all those places with the Liquid?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't switch from Bootstrap to Flowbyte for an existing site that you're not going to rework or anything. It's more for a redesign or a new website that you would switch to Flowbyte. Having said that, you could still, if you built the original on the Studio design system using Bootstrap 5, then that's available in Site Builder. So you could just carry on using that and stick with Bootstrap. But yeah, Flowbyte would be for new projects, really. I don't know if anybody has tried to run the two alongside each other, but
well, that could be my problem too, because I'm using a Bootstrap. I've got one of my clients that's got a Bootstrap 5 site, and I'm trying to deal with, the Flowbyte stuff and the Site Builder. So maybe that's what it could be. Thanks for bringing that up, Joey.
You're not going to get it you're not going to just be able to start writing in Flowbyte Tailwind and use the same code. It's completely different code. So you would have to basically at least start with a new template and then customize the Flowbyte layouts to look like the Bootstrap site and then carry on from there. I don't think it's probably not worth doing unless, as I say, you're making enough changes or building out a much bigger site from a smaller site.
Well, I like spaghetti, so I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be a big
No,
mess.
but I agree with you. Yeah, I think that would be too much different code and confusing.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if anybody else has actually done it, but
I haven't done it. But there is a tool online. There's a couple of tools that can convert Bootstrap classes to Tailwind. There's one that is quite a plain site, and then there's another one. I believe it's called Windy by Beyond Code. Yeah. I believe that's a paid one though. But yeah, Windy looks like the better one. Let me just.
That's actually promoted by Flowbyte. It's on their resources page. So. Somewhere down here, HTML to Tailwind CSS. I think there was another one. Yeah, we can share a link on that as well. Again, I don't know how well those kind of things work, really, whether it's right to try and let something change the code for you, but it's worth a try, maybe.
So is Tailwind something closer to like Shoelace? Does anybody know?
Sorry, this one. I'm not too familiar with Shoelace. What's that? Is that a framework?
Shoelace.
It's like a modules kind of reference library.
Flowbyte looks closer to Shoelace than Tailwind does, I'd say. Okay. It seems to be like a component library. Shoelace.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be Flowbyte.
Yeah, I'd have to look into this and find out whether it's what we need. I noticed it mentions PHP, so that might not be so relevant. I'm not sure. But yeah, in general, I'd probably recommend sticking with it, Bootstrap for any existing Bootstrap sites, and then looking at Flowbyte and Tailwind for new projects. I think, Josh, generally that would be your approach.
Yeah, I'd agree. There's not much point, to be fair. Unless you're completely rebuilding the site. It's a nice place to start off. But yeah, unless you're building maybe like a new brochure page for it, that might be an instance where I do it, because there are some real performance improvements that you get from Tailwind. It is sort of a change in the way that you write, and it's definitely very class heavy. But overall, I think the benefits outweigh the negatives.
So you like that as a Bootstrap replacement, Josh?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's times when Bootstrap makes a bit more sense. If a client is sort of dabbling in and out of code and they feel a bit confident in adding classes and stuff, Bootstrap may be a bit more approachable for them. But in most cases, that's not really the case. I've got a couple clients that do that, but they're the exception rather than the rule. But for us, really, we're the ones building it. And what makes our life easier is the main thing. And so, yeah, Tailwind goes for the win on that one.
Cool. Any other questions? Anything can be completely unrelated if you like, but anything else that anybody wanted to ask?
Completely unrelated. How deep is the snow, Michael? We've got half an inch.
Not deep yet. No, it actually stopped as we were talking.
Right. That was completely unrelated, though, wasn't it?
But that was a good question. Is it dark or milk chocolate? There's my question.
It was milk chocolate.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm. And it's all gone.
The best kind, right?
There's none left.
Dark chocolate. No, I like dark chocolate, but I like milk chocolate.
The worrying thing is, it won't be too long before there's a platform called Dark Chocolate and Snow. They just seem to.
We have
just looking at the list that was on the screen
and all that stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. It's I mean, we're drowning in it. How kind of non-developers and non-web developers look at it and just go, just hopeless. There's just so many options these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We got excited when CSS
Everybody's
came
trying
out.
to make it, right?
Mm.
Yeah. It's just like, well, which flavor of this do you want? It's like, I've no idea.
Yeah. That is the world in which we live, this strange world of web.
I like it.
Oh, I think.
What do you like?
The strange world of web. Keeps me entertained.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm only 25. I mean, that's what it's done to me.
Yes. It has taken its effect, hasn't it? Taken its toll.
Yeah.
So you've never experienced Spacer GIF then, huh?
Never experienced what?
Spacer.gif.
No.
Spacer.gif, did you say?
Spacer.
Spacer.
We used to code in the early days. We used a thing called Spacer.gif.
Yeah.
And you could stretch a table out to however big you wanted it.
Yeah, I thought that's what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Spacer. Don't think I ever came across that one.
Shaking his. I knew that. I picked on you personally for that.
Was that before or after Frames?
Frames were fun. That was around the same time.
Yeah.
Frames are evil.
You couldn't leave a cell blank, so you had to put a spacer in it. Yeah.
Yep.
Is that when you were still using Macromedia?
Pretty much. Fireworks, baby. That was the best app ever.
It was.
CS3.
Come on, front page. Anyone use front page?
Oh,
I used it one time.
I tried.
Microsoft front page.
It ate all my code, and I'm like, I hate you. And so then Page Mill was the other one.
Yes.
And did the same thing.
That was Adobe.
I'm just like, okay.
Adobe bought that. Wasn't that Serif to start with, and Adobe bought them out?
Yeah, Page Mill, and then pretty much Dreamweaver was a much, because it wouldn't eat your code. You could have your custom code, and it could just kind of deal with it. But now I think Dreamweaver is pretty much dead. Unfortunately.
Oh, those were the days.
Those were the days, man.
We've moved on, though. We've moved on.
Tried to.
Yeah, how far we've come from writing HTML in Notepad, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, just to, I don't know, we just keep this conversation going, but I'm sure there's gonna be AI coding, or there already is AI coding. That's a big thing. I mean, I've got a lot of graphic apps that have AI built in, and there's some crazy stuff that they can do. But I would imagine pretty soon it's just gonna be build me an e-commerce website, and then I don't know. Hopefully that won't be when I'm alive.
It's a really interesting one. The whole thing, really. I mean, content is the really tricky one at the moment. How Google's going to deal with that, and the whole idea of it, whether what you're reading is actually credible and where it's come from. But yeah, on our side of things, we keep an eye on everything and see what we can try and bring into the product or be at the forefront of. But it moves so quickly and it's hard to know what to focus on, really. I think the way most people are looking at it, I don't know what you guys think, but it seems to be that it's about helping us rather than taking over. There's stuff that it probably should never do and maybe can never do, but it can hopefully make our lives easier and speed things up.
Yeah, when the web first
my
came
neighbor
out, go ahead.
My neighbor is I'll go.
You go.
My neighbor is a developer and he's currently on a government contract, but he worked for a couple of years on an AI project specifically. And he said that what the media is pushing out about AI is so completely off from what AI actually is. You know, his point was, in the media, we're hearing things like AI is going to take over, you know, AI this, AI that. And then, you know, Elon Musk is so afraid of AI taking over the world that, you know, blah, 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 you know, whatever. And his perspective was, no, that's absolutely not true. AI is very much like if this, then that, you know, kind of thing. It's not a safe, self-sustaining, learning, evolving, teach myself kind of situation. It's just code that does what we tell it to do, kind of thing. But the AI aspect, the media has really run with and made it sound like it's going to take over on its own one day. You know, maybe, but not right now.
Yeah, you could probably thank the Terminator movies for that one, but
exactly.
Because I remember, I was going to say, when the web first kind of came out, you know, everyone kept saying, well, print's no longer going to be around and television's no longer going to be around. It's going to replace everything. And then it just added on.
Yeah.
You know, and that's I think what your point is right now there's that media hype around it and I know a lot of artists that are freaking out going, oh, it's going to replace me and stuff. But I think it's an extra tool that we'll be able to use and take advantage of and do things that normally maybe would take us a long time to do. We're still achieving the creativity, but we're just letting a machine do it so it's more efficient. So, you know, what's the problem? I mean, it's sort of like, don't use that fax machine. Why? I can send something faster, you know, or don't use email. Well, why? Because, you know, I think we'll adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still do print work for clients today.
I do too.
Right.
It's cheaper now because of they went through the period of not selling a lot of print, and then all of a sudden these digital presses come out. I can do 4-color jobs for people dirt cheap now. And I was just like, where were you 20 years ago when, you know, I was quoting these jobs and it was like $20,000 and they're looking at me like, what? It's 4-color.
Yeah, exactly. So let's run it 1 or 2-color to save.
Yeah.
And then the job is difficult to produce.
What spot color would you like? Yeah. Anyway.
Well,
yes, we've come a long ways.
You guys in the States will surely have heard this one, that Henry Ford, the man who made the Model T, he told all his customers they could have any color they liked, so long as it was black. He only made it in one color.
Yeah. I think
so there you go. Just reduce the options for the client.
Yeah. And, simplify the production.
Make life a lot easier for yourself. Say, no, you'd be better off without that. I should leave that one out as well. Just strip it right down to basics and put a note on the end and off you go. There you go. Just, you were talking about faster than email, Michael. It reminded me many years ago, Josh will remember this. We had a customer who was actually next door to us in our offices. And I'd nipped round and said, yes, we can do that. And there's no problem there. Yes, we do. I'll pop it all in an email to you, Martin. And he said, Robert, if you're going to email it to me, could you please not send it until at least 4 o'clock, because I'm really busy till then. Yeah? You like that?
Oh, yeah.
Just hold it back, you know.
Hold it back. Don't send it right away.
Yeah.
But then I've just scheduled an email to go at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, because I don't want the client to know that I'm kind of emailing them. I've only just got round to looking at their stuff at 10 o'clock at night.
That's
squeezed it in just before the meeting.
That's a different reason.
So I'm not the only one who does that. Thank you, Nick.
Oh, no, far from it.
Well, my clients think I'm open 24 hours. So, I mean, it's, what can you do?
No, we don't suffer that one, luckily.
I'm not, but they think it.
Yes.
Mm.
It's Sunday. Why are you contacting me?
Yeah.
I'm eating chocolate.
Mm.
Stay away from me. I'm kidding. But it's true. They contact me. Well,
What's
good.
next?
I'm just conscious of people who might watch the recording of this.
Yeah, I know. My fault.
This one is a little more free willy on this one.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if you guys are short of time, but the other topic I was going to ask about quickly was pricing feedback. Sorry, not pricing, billing from last time. Has anybody looked at it any further, and any things to raise? I mean, in the coming, we're finalizing it hopefully this week with Platform OS, just to give you a quick update. Then there's more to do at our end, but now, as in the next few weeks, is probably the time to let us know any ideas or requests or anything like that, so that we get it right. Was there anything in particular from what we shared that anybody wanted to add to or question?
It's just a kind of understanding of how the... Sorry, go on.
No, you go, Nick. Go.
I mean, just in terms of how, if we're on existing plans, how those will kind of migrate into the into the new way of doing things. I guess from our point of view, it'll actually be really nice, because we've been kind of almost fudging things along the way with the current plans, where we've got kind of 10 licenses and a client leaves, so we kind of then use their license for somewhere else, which whether that's the done thing or not the done thing, it's it just seems, and actually to be able to kind of switch down clients and restart clients, as we did with back in the Adobe days, and doing that, and we won't be focusing on the license and so on. So I think it's going to be a lot easier. So we're kind of really looking forward to that kind of much more simplified approach, and just having that kind of big bucket of overages or whatever. Definitely a very positive thing from the way we're seeing it. It's just kind of, I imagine there'll be probably more with us than others. There'll be kind of lots of working out the figures so that it works out the same on both routes. But
that is the aim. The aim is to make sure it's the same. There's a few reasons for that. I think it's good for you guys, but you don't want to have any surprises, but it's the way it really has to be negotiated at every level. I think for us to make a change with Platform OS, we need to essentially keep it the same, and then therefore we have to kind of keep it the same with you guys. So you'll probably end up just having more allowance and headroom than you have currently, because at the moment your headroom's per site, whereas you'll soon just have extra headroom on top of the same spend. So it might mean that you don't spend more for longer, but the benefits of getting onto simpler billing and being able to take on more customers and use more functionality will hopefully pay off in the long run from our perspective, at least. So
I think the really nice thing is, I think for the majority of us in this business, if we were to be honest about our customer base and where they sit in terms of usage for these plan limits, I think if we plotted them as a cluster on a graph, we find the majority do tend to sit around the lower they're the simpler sites. Nick was talking earlier on about his builder, and he wants another site for his sheds. Those are not going to be heavy consumption sites. And from a selling point of view, as an agency, it's been sorted now. Luke has sorted it, and he's done great work with Adam and POS. But for the simpler, cheaper sites, it was difficult for an agency to be able to say to the client, it's going to cost you $30 a month forevermore. What you could say is, it'll be $30 a month, but it might go up depending on how much of this stuff you use up. I think now, having the aggregated plan, it means that it doesn't actually matter, because it's all in a bigger bowl, isn't it? So it's a bigger pond, and as long as the whole lot isn't going over, then everything springs. And there'll be some that won't; they'll barely scratch the surface, and others will eat away a little bit more. But it's going to make it much, much easier for us as agencies to be able to, and far more competitive. Not only if you look at the features that SiteGuide has now got, and all the stuff we've been talking about with Tailwind and Site Builder and that sort of thing, but it no longer has to be a high ticket price on the license fee. You can start it. You can set your own pricing wherever you want it to be, because you can look at this bigger aggregated allowance, this pool of allowances. Does that make sense? Yeah, Michael Clausen's nodding his head. If he's understood, then I think we're time to get more chocolate out. Yeah, you're going to provide the chocolate.
So then, does that mean we don't have to be really concerned about bundles and like agency packs and stuff like that, because the overall new structure being a bucket, if you will, of all of our sites together is in essence kind of like a pack of sites for a deal, right? So I don't have to worry about how many sites are in a pack, or do I have enough sites to make up a pack. I just spin up a site, it goes into my overall bucket, and then we go from there. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I would probably see the packs as being an opportunity, depends where the SiteGuide are going to do them, an opportunity to buy a plan at a discount, so that the agency has got the discount on that and the opportunity to make the profit on the retail. And then I would look at the aggregate, the bucket, as where my data and records allowances come from across my client base.
Well, we're going to get rid of as much as possible that's confusing and is legacy or is causing trouble. So upgrades. So in terms of our relationship with an agency, upgrades can disappear, overages can disappear, 10 packs and packs can disappear. All of that complexity, discounts and not knowing which discounts end when, all of that disappears. All you have is essentially unit rate and the total usage and the bundle price, essentially, the volume price. How you then sell that to your customers and how we help you automate that and make it easier, that's the real challenge, I think. And it's almost a two-phase thing. If we get in place the far simplified billing with you, we can then help you resell it and make it easier to resell.
Yeah. Doesn't really matter, does it, about the multi-packs then? If you've got
there won't be packs from our side, no need to.
When are these implementing?
Very good question. I would like it to be as soon as possible. There's been some development work on the POS side to be able to get the data, to be able to analyze it and to be able to confirm the new model. and we're at that point. I should get that tomorrow. I understand it was today or tomorrow, so hoping it'll be tomorrow. Once we have that, Adam and I can just run through the numbers again. It's quite complex, but we can run through and just double check that what I've proposed works. At that point, we have the full green light. I've already got it, but we'll have full confirmation that we can start putting that in place. And then it's a case of POS finishing their end just to make it, to handle the billing, but us putting in place the consolidated billing option with you guys. Yeah, I don't know the timeline on that. We'll have to keep you updated, but I think agreeing how it will work is one of the most important steps. So once I get the green light from Platform OS and firm up exactly how it will work, I think I'll come to you guys more and share more information so that we can really flesh out exactly how it will work. And then you guys can even start planning your well, how you're going to pitch it to clients with that information. So I think information first, get all of that agreed, and then the implementation of it. We want it in place as soon as possible. The consolidated billing, in theory, can be not too time consuming compared to, because it's a lot simpler. And then the way to handle the automated billing can come later. So a system for you to hook it up to how your customers pay can come later. So I'd love to give a timeline. I don't think I'm quite able to do that right now, but as soon as possible. But you definitely should be getting information and confirmation on how it'll work in the coming weeks.
Okay.
Good.
I'd really like to be discussing how you guys can feel you can resell it better, how, any pain points still, like really iron out all of that. This is a chance to get it right, I think, and then look at helping you resell it and the automation of it. Cool. Yeah, if you do get a chance to review what we've already shared, that might be a good idea. But to be honest, I think I'll be sharing a lot more in the coming week or couple of weeks. So I think that will be the point to really get involved with it if you can, and make sure we get it right. Cool. Don't think there's anything else on that to report. It's a lot of moving parts, but I think we've hopefully really simplified it as much as we possibly can, and we'll share more details. Oh, we're just over the hour. Any other questions from anybody else? If not, Martin, I'll let you jump back in. No,
okay. All right. Well, I'll move on to my point, I suppose. Yeah. So slight tangent for advisory board topics, but it is with some sadness that after almost 7 years, I got it wrong the other day, almost 7 years with Cyclone and Wizzy, I am going to be moving on to a new challenge in a new company. I've been with them, so 7 years I've been with you guys, and things have changed a lot. Joined as an apprentice, didn't know anything, and gone through 3 different roles and worked with both teams for a lot of that time as well. So I've really enjoyed working alongside both the Cyclone and Wizzy teams. But yeah, time for me to move on to the next challenge and chapter. So yeah, I just wanted to let you all know as well, obviously, because we've been on meetings and calls quite regularly. So this will be my last advice board / town hall.
Just a big thank you from me firstly, for all your hard work and help over the years, Martin. All these late night calls and everything. It's very much appreciated. And yeah,
that goes from all of us. Absolutely,
definitely. Here.
You'll be missed.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll be missed.
And we're all intrigued, I'm sure.
Intrigued
Of what he's doing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you might not tell you.
Well, yeah. So just moving on to bigger company, managing a CSM team effectively. So similar kind of industry, but yeah, just it's right timing, right move for me really. So yeah, but I'll miss it for sure. But yeah.
Well,
So they made you an offer you couldn't refuse, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, if you're free at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday evening, Martin, you can always hop back in and
that is true.
Join Town Hall. But yeah, same from me. Thank you. You have been with us a long time, as you say, in a variety of roles. And I think you've been a great asset to, particularly to the town halls and advisory board meetings. I've always said to you, you present very well, and great asset on the team. And we obviously wish you well with your next move.
Thanks very much.
Good luck.
Alrighty. With that, Luke, did you have any other points for advisory board / town hall that you wanted to raise?
I don't think so. More updates coming soon to everybody else on extra help within the team. Yeah, won't say too much just yet, but yeah, more. Yeah, we'll update very soon. But no, I don't think there was anything else. Just I'll keep you updated on the billing side and any sort of site builder announcements as well. Of course, roadmap as well, and do raise any issues with us. But otherwise, we'll catch up again in a month. But I do want us to talk more about some sort of ad hoc things that we can do to help, and more discussion in Discord. So I'll start that channel that I mentioned for the marketplace side of things and collaboration. But we can also look at how we can help more with either training or getting more out of the platform. Cool.
Alrighty. Well, with that, I will stop the recording.